Hello there, I'm John and welcome to our 363rd art tutorial where we introduce you to amazing artists from around the world and share some of their tips and techniques to help you improve. Today we're going to be travelling to Cornwall in the far southwest of England, where we're going to be joining oil and watercolour artist Sarah Wimperis to create a fun and vibrant landscape using water mixable oils. Now, there are certain art materials that you come across in shops or online, or you might already have them in your materials box. You're not quite sure how best to use them. Well, I think water mixable oils is one medium that falls into that category. So I can't wait to find out a little bit more today. This class is a prelude to Sarah's longer SKA art series that we've got coming up in May, as well as the launch of a new book. More about these later. So without further ado, let's travel to meet Sarah now. As we journey to Cornwall, you can find relevant reference photos as well as recommended art materials on our website. There's also a link to the class info in the description below. If you want to find out more about Sarah, simply take a look at our tutor bio section. Right, I think I can see Sarah there. She's in a garden. Get back in the house, Sarah, back in your studio. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, John.
Good, good. It's lovely to be hosting you. This is like the first time that we've hosted you. So, and I noticed from your bio that you've traveled the world, quite a few far-flung places. Where would you say has been the most fascinating place that you've visited?
Oh gosh, and there's so many. I travelled to China in 1984, which was
Wow.
hugely fascinating. Somewhere I'd wanted to go since I was about six, but it was pretty extreme travelling, that's for sure. Um, and I lived in Norway for 6 years, which was incredible. I loved it there. Taught
Wow.
in an international school in Stavanger.
Wow.
And I lived in France for 4 years, which is beautiful. Southern Brittany is where I lived. Very, very similar to Cornwall. Always though, my heart has been in Cornwall. I went to art college down here way back when, and I've left Cornwall and come back so many times. This time though, it's for good. I've been here for 15 years.
You firmly planted your feet
Firmly
in
planted.
Cornwall, that's it. And
Apart
you were
from
also the only English artist to work on the film Loving Vincent, which was the
That's right.
world's first oil painted feature film, which I'd highly recommend people going
Yeah.
and checking out. And that must have been a really rewarding experience, if not quite a lot of hard work, I would imagine.
It was an immense amount of hard work, and it was incredibly rewarding and fascinating to be. I was with 125 artists from all around the world, and I went and lived in Gdansk in Poland for 6 months in order to work on it in their studios.
Wow.
And it was from the point of view of painting, it was brilliant because it was so immersive, and we had to work so hard. We had to get rid of our own style and obviously learn to paint like Van Gogh, but also like each other. So it was like breaking horses to make all these artists become not only animators but sort of mini Van Goghs as well.
Yeah.
It
Now,
was absolutely brilliant.
yeah, no, that's fascinating. Now, appropriately, I'm drinking out of our new limited edition Vincent themed ceramic mug. So there we go. You can see it says shopkeep arty wrapped around it, and it looks great. You'll notice a wry grin on Vincent's face, and if you want to find out more about why he's smiling and maybe even order one for yourself, head over to our shop section on our website to find out more. We'll see the link top right, and it will take you right there. Well, Sarah, can't wait to get started. Before we do, a quick 30-second word on how today's live event is going to work. So first of all, we're going to walk through the prep, and this might include talking about the process, sketching out and the first layers. Then we're going to take a pause and we'll take a look at some of Sarah's previous works of art for inspiration, particularly orientated around the water mixable oils, as well as talk about what we're going to be doing in the upcoming art series in May. Finally, we'll complete the tutorial, after which you're more than welcome to share what you've done either on our Facebook page or on our Patreon WhatsApp group. Links for these are also in the description. So let's now get back to Sarah and we'll make a start and put paint to board. Back with you, Sarah.
Brilliant. I'm going to point the camera down to my palette.
So this camera is going to be on the palette, and then
so that
while you're doing that,
you can
this
see
is what we are aiming on painting today. And again, the reference photo and everything is on our website.
Right.
Great. So if you want to, are you going to talk about the paints that you're using, I guess?
Let's start off with the paints. At the moment, I've got the Cobra water mixable oil paints here. It's a basic palette of paint that I use throughout the book that's coming out, but that I mainly use anyway. And what you've got is 3 yellows, 3 blues, and 3 reds, a green and the white. Now the yellows, you can see them, you've got lemon yellow, which is the cool yellow, and you've got a cadmium hue, which is the warm yellow, and then I've got yellow ochre, which I call the earth yellow. So if you think of the colour wheel, you've got yellow, blue and red. We've got the cool blue here, which is cerulean, and the warm blue, which is ultramarine, and then what I've called the earth blue, which is Prussian blue. And then with the reds, we've got the cool red is the alizarin crimson, the warm red is the scarlety one, and the earth red is burnt sienna. So a lot of paint companies make things with different names. For example, Winsor & Newton, the bright red I use with their paint is called cadmium red hue, and with the Cobra paints, they call it Pyrrole red light. So you don't worry too much about the names, just think about the temperature of the colours. So the yellow that I call the cool yellow is the one that looks like it will go towards green a bit better. And the blue, for example, the warm blue, the ultramarine, looks like it's going to go towards purple a bit more. So if you imagine the colour wheel, that's how you work it out. So I've got them all out here. You can make any colour you like from this lot. The other things I've got are tools, my paint brushes, which are an assortment of pretty rubbish brushes, to be honest, but it doesn't really matter because we're going to be scrubbing a lot of the paint on and then sort of just using the brush as a vehicle to put the paint on the surface. I've got palette knives, which are really useful for mixing, obviously, but also you can use the edges, you can scratch into the paint. And I've got a variety of old cards, which I use the ends for dipping into the paint and making lines on the surface, which hopefully I'll show you today. So basically the first thing I would do with a painting, having set the colours out, is to start drawing out on the board. So I'm going to put a clean board up, John, on that camera.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, and I'm just going to start plotting out the picture. You tell me when you want to stop and have a look at other bits and bobs, and I'm just going to start this process by mixing a little bit of, it's the earthy Prussian blue with a little bit of green in it, because I just want to, I'm going to add a tiny bit of water. I don't want to water it down too much. I tend to, with these paints, just use them straight off as they are, but you can add water. It's the same effect as adding terps to real oil paints. These are real oil paints. The only difference is that they've added an emulsifier, which means they don't smell and you can clean up super easy, and you don't need turpentine, white spirit, all of those other things, which makes using them in a situation like if you're in an art club or a school hall or something, or even at home in the kitchen, much easier, much nicer. They tend to be a lot easier to sort of cart about, because you basically you need the paint and you need a bit of water for washing your brushes, and that's about it. Right, they dry the same way as oil paints do. So unlike acrylics, which if you're disorganized like me, you forget about your brushes and you come back in a couple of hours and you've ruined them because they've all dried, and you can't get the acrylic paint off. But these, you can wash the brushes very easily in just sort of warm soapy water and they're done. And you can even, you know, the paint won't dry on them very quickly. Now, what I'm doing as I'm talking now is I'm trying to just very vaguely plot out where everything is on this painting. So I'm just going to kind of judge where the edge of the field or the hedge comes. Take it
Now,
down.
interestingly, I'm noticing that you're holding the brush quite towards the end of the
Yeah.
brush. Do you typically hold all your brushes like that as you're painting, or do you do it when you're wanting a bit more loosely defined?
Yeah, it sort of helps give you can be a bit further away from the board. I mean, also today, John, it's because I've got a camera between me and the board, so that's a little bit of it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but I do tend to hold it like this. Learning to paint in these water mixable oil paints, I think, is about the easiest way to learn to paint. Unlike watercolors, you can scrape out, paint over, correct your mistakes really easily. Like I said, unlike acrylics, they don't dry very fast, so you've got plenty of time to do stuff. So they're very, very forgiving. I think that's the right word, as a medium. So here you see I'm just sort of putting little marks in so that I know where stuff is, and I'm trying to see things as kind of big lumps of not even color, light and dark really, and not worry about any of the details. So those are trees there, by the way. So I'm just gonna, I don't really need to color this in, but I'm just gonna do that because that's, I'm not going to worry about all the little holes of light in the tree at first, because I'll put them in later. So you're really looking for the big shapes. That's probably enough drawing for one day on this. Right.
Victoria's asked, what kind of board are you using?
This is MDF. I'll show you the back. You can see the back. It's just MDF board. It's 3mm thick. I buy them online because, as you've just seen, I live in the middle of nowhere. And then I gesso. This grey is a gesso.
Okay.
Which you would do for any oil painting. You need to seal the surface. And this is a gesso called Sludge. You can buy it from any online art shop like Great Art or anything. And it's basically, it's made by a paint company, and they when they clean out all their machines, they save all the pigment. They filter the water, save all the pigment, and they turn it into this gesso. So it's a sort of mid-grey colour. It's great. It's really good stuff.
Great name. I love the name Sludge.
Yeah, yeah, it is good, isn't it? But it's actually paint can be quite damaging for the environment. So it's really nice when you come across something that is a little bit, you know, thought about. Right, I'm making a grey for the sky, because the sky in this photograph, it was in the summer, obviously the corn in the field, but the sky was really quite leaden and grey. So I'm mixing a bit of the white here, more of the white than the other colours, and I'm adding a little bit, let me just get a bit of kitchen roll. I'm adding a little bit of ultramarine blue, the warm blue, okay, and a tiny bit of the burnt sienna, which is my earthy red. And those two together, you mix them with the white, make a kind of a very warm grey, which is going to be great for the sky, I think. Although I will be changing it up a little bit by adding a bit of the Prussian blue to it towards some of the bases of some of the clouds. But this for now is going to be what I'm going to block in the sky with, because we haven't got long today, and the beauty of these, let's do it with that one, I think, that one there. The beauty of these paints is that you can get results really quickly. Okay, so you can see, because it's a different grey to the colour of the board, so I'm just going to very quickly get a base on.
Victoria's asked if your palette is MDF2, but it looks a lot
No,
more shiny on the.
Yeah, my palette is a sheet of glass.
Yes.
And then behind it, I've got actually a big piece of brown cardboard, which I've taped around the edges, so that behind the glass, I've got again a sort of, you know, mid-tone colour. Actually, it's not the best palette for using when you're filming what you're doing, because as you can see, it's very shiny. But it's really useful for working at home, having a, you know, when you're in the studio, because it's very easy to clean off. You can, even if the paint's dried on it, you can use a, you know, one of those scrapers with a razor blade in and just scrape it off. Most days at the end of the working day, I'll just scrape it all down with the palette knife, and then polish it off with a bit of old cloth. I used to use baby wipes. When we worked on the film, we were working in oil paint, but and using an awful lot of paint when we were animating the film, and we went through baby wipes like there was no tomorrow. But since then, I've realized how terrible they are for the environment. So I tend to use, I have a great stack of old sheets, torn up rags, which I use, and occasionally, like today, I go posh and have a bit of kitchen roll. So basically, right now, I've sort of blocked in the sky, okay? But I'm going to play with that, so I'm just going to start putting in some lighter up here. I want to just draw in some clouds above the clouds. It's a bit lighter towards the top. I'm not going to go anywhere near finishing this bit. I just want to start blocking in the stuff. So the next bit for me, I think, is going to be the cornfield. So I'm just going to clean this pile of grey. I'm going to put to one side on my palette. He's showing how easy to clean this is, but you know, it's nice to keep the working area a bit clear. So that's that. Right, let's mix I'm going to use the same brush. I'm just going to literally wipe the paint off there. Get some yellow ochre, I think can be a good base. And a bit of the warm yellow. I want to make quite a pale yellow for the base of this cornfield. I think that'll probably do. I think actually I need a bit more. Let's put a bit of the cool yellow in. Basically, I've used all three yellows here. It's not quite right though. It's a little bit, I'm going to put a tiny touch of the burnt sienna in. I just want to, what do I need to do? I need to cool it down. I'm going to put a little bit of green in. Literally a tiny bit. I just want to knock its yellow back a bit. If that makes sense. I don't know if it does, but anyway. So I've got quite a nice, it's a very yellowy, slightly greenish yellow there. That's going to be fine for the start of the cornfield. Because right at the end of the painting, we're going to put in the bits that zing it up and make it work. Like I said, we're blocking in, okay? Now, occasionally you'll pick up a little bit of the paint that you used to draw the picture out. Don't worry about that. That doesn't matter. You'll be able to neaten that up if you really need to, but it's sometimes quite an advantage to have a little blur of colour, because you don't want to always work with a sharp edge. You want to soften them up sometimes. You can see how fast this picture's coming along, and so you can sort of see how useful they are if you're out plein air painting. You can you know, imagine if this was watercolours, you'd be working very hard to have covered this much ground with this much colour. So when you're plein air painting, it makes sense to be able to capture the light and everything very quickly. So I'm just blocking this in. The path is, I'm going to put the same colour down for the start of the path. Just draw that in there. Okay, I'll do. Again, I'm just wiping the brush off with this paper towel, so it's almost clean, but not quite. I'm quite keen on accidents that happen when your brush isn't quite clean enough. You get some very nice transitions of colours and all sorts, unintentional ones.
Happy accidents, as Bob
Happy
Ross
accidents,
says.
yes, Bob Ross says. It's very true, though. I mean, you know, when you think about it, you don't really want to be able to predict absolutely everything. You can't. Especially with landscapes and things. You know, just letting the paint do its thing. I'm mixing up now. I'm going to make a real sort of bluey green to start off. I'm going to use the yellow ochre with the ultramarine and a little bit of that green. I want a dark green. I want to be able to put in the really dark bits and then add the light later with different colours. This will do. That's about enough to start off. See, we're zooming ahead. Look how fast we're going.
It's great.
Yeah. I'll be able to paint 2 today, John.
Oh, don't promise that.
No, I'm not. I was joking. So I'm sort of doing the same thing all over everything, in that I'm blocking in this sort of base colours, let's call them, but a little bit I'm slightly thinking about the form, so I'm making my brush kind of go round these branches or loads of leaves in a kind of leafy hooped shape. I'm going to pop the little sky holes in later. So this is a kind of solid lump here, but I am going to leave that gap there that is where the sky, you can see the sky through past the trunks. We'll start with these trunks are going to stay green for now, because this is my dark base green. Let's just do that. Do you know what? It's very strange trying to describe what you're doing and concentrate at the same time. So if I make a really stupid mistake, you're going to have to go easy on me. Right, let's get this. You see how there's a shadow that comes down here? It describes the edge of the hedge there, and it actually flops over the bank a little bit, like that. So I'm trying to see these shapes in the picture, what I'm looking at. Now those trees are a degree lighter, but I'm going to put a bit of that in there, because I'll put that, I want it to be a base. And the hedge, let's just go along here.
So would you say, as a rule of thumb, you're working from almost layering the darker elements on first?
Yeah, it's
up with the lighter as you go.
Yeah, sort of. It's not written in stone. Nothing is written in stone. That's the first thing. There's no hard and fast rules. I mean, I've met people who said that their art teacher won't let them use black. or won't let them use Viridian. I think you basically give it a go, break some rules. It's that's what Van Gogh did anyway. And look how he did loads of exciting things with paint. I find things like this, it is easier to put the darks in, and then you can sort of work up towards the lighter. There's a big dark shape here, for example. With you work the opposite way around with watercolor. You leave, you put the darks in last there, because you can't, obviously it's not so easy to put light over dark with watercolor, although it's possible. So you just sort of think the other way around. So you can put the highlights on these trees later. Okay. It's the only thing with any sort of painting, I think, is practice. That's the only way that you'll get good at anything. Practice is the key, which again was why it was so good working on that film. Right, I've run out of that paint, so I'm going to make a bit more, but it'll be a slightly different green. Let's try it with that one. This time I'm using the yellow ochre with the cerulean blue. That's a very different green. I think I need to add a bit more of that. Right. So just block in there. I don't want to go in with the lights yet, because I want them to be the pingy points that, we finish off this thing with, this painting. And I put the Van Gogh painting, on your blurb, John, because I want to add some of the elements that he did in his paintings to this. So if you look at Van Gogh paintings, when he's painting vegetation and trees, there's lots of lovely patterny shapes he makes, which I like doing very much. So we're going to put some of those in here later on, just to describe the texture of things. And so far I've used the same brush throughout. I will
change on washing up.
It does, and I'll change it up in a bit. Let's just do these lighter trees here, the tops of them. And that one.
Now we're sort of nearing the halfway point now, Sarah, so I don't know whether
Great.
you just want to finish that bit off, and then maybe we can just take a pause.
That would be great. I'm just going to put this in here, and then we can pause.
Great.
Which is good, because it's nearly all done. It's difficult to stop, John. I quite like painting. Well, I don't quite like therapeutic. I love painting. Yeah, I'm so lucky that this is my job. I just get to enjoy myself every single day. Absolutely love it. When I go on holiday, all I do is paint. Right.
You said you're a compulsive sketchbook hoarder as well.
I am. I have hundreds of sketchbooks, and I even do sketchbooks that are actually artworks in themselves. I'll show you one in a bit if you want.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll have to maybe do another show at some point in
good idea.
Just have a look at all the sketchbooks. It's an insight into the soul of an artist, I think sketchbooks.
Dark soul.
Now this is we're going to take a little bit of a break. I hope you've enjoyed that first half. It was really fascinating, and how everything's all come to shape so quickly, as Sarah said. We're now going to have a look at some of Sarah's previous works of art. We're going to take inspiration from this water mixable oils, and she's pulled out a few examples, and we'll pop those on easel, I guess, hopefully.
Yeah.
And right, so yeah, just move that. You don't want to get any any
No.
paint on them. So what have you pulled out for us, Sarah?
Oh, I'll go through these. We've got a bunch of. That's the first one. That's the fire pit. Actually,
Yeah,
that's a very
that's
quick
great.
one done at night. Then we've got this is where I go swimming in the river, and just cows up on the hill above.
Lovely.
Again, another one, another swimming one.
You've captured the serenity of that scene really well, I think.
Yeah, I swim there nearly every day, and it keeps me completely sane. This is the farm gate on the way down to swimming. She puts vegetables out, and in the summer it was so hot. And what I liked about this was the reflection of the
Yes.
red on the barn wall.
Yeah, I noticed.
This is a different. That's a rain on the windscreen on the lane. November, I think that was. Again, I mean, this sort of, the dots of white obviously put on right at the end, so that shows you how easy it is to add light to dark things. This is up in the Lake District, just a little
I thought I
plein air.
recognised that scene. Yeah.
I think you're going up there, aren't you, soon?
Yes, I am. I am.
Hang on, let me
Love
just
the lakes.
move them. There's another Lake District one. Fantastic for painting with a palette knife, getting these sharp fell edges. Again, very, very quickly done. Looking at the colors, looking at the lights against the darks, that sort of thing. I don't know how well they come out on this camera, but another Lake District one. These little dots are sheep.
A few years ago, we hosted an artist, Robert Dutton, and he did Lake District scene with soft pastels.
Lovely.
And I went up there a year or so later, and I did a live stream from. We had to try and find where Robert stood to take the reference photo. It was quite a good adventure.
Sometimes, because I do a lot of these little paintings, and sometimes I put the longitude and latitude on the back, so that
that's very good. Yeah,
can find out, where exactly their picture is. So those are smaller ones. I've got some bigger ones, but I think I'm going to have to move the camera.
Oh wow, yes, that's huge.
So this is a really big.
Gosh.
Where are we? Can you see that?
Yeah.
And that's water mixable oils.
Wow.
It's supposed to be an orchard in the springtime. But if you go closer, there's loads and loads and loads of colours, little dabs of colour all over it.
Wow.
So there you go.
How long did that take you?
That's about a week.
Right.
Going back and back and back. And there's
Fantastic,
another one.
yeah.
There's another garden here, so you see that one?
Wow.
Just getting all the patterns and textures
Yeah,
of.
lovely.
Right. Well, we can go back now.
Thank you. That was absolutely fascinating. Really great. Really looking forward to hosting Sarah a little bit more in depth as well in this art series that's coming up in May. So our art series, what is our art series? Our art series is a collection of 4 separate classes, and we've agreed with Sarah what the format of that's going to be. So in May, it's all going to be around water mixable oils, if you hadn't already guessed, and it's actually relating to a book that's going to be coming out by Sarah in May as well, fingers crossed. And so it should tie in really, really well. And every week we're going to have an hour class with Sarah, and she's going to be focusing on different themes around water mixable oils. So the first one, we're going to be focused on color mixing and an abstract painting. The second week, we're then going to be focusing on textures, so how to create different textures with the paints, and Sarah will be able to fill in some gaps here. Then we're also going to be focusing on working from photos, so how you use a standard photo that you might take and how you translate that, so that'll tie into simplification and things like that, again with water mixable oils. And then finally, painting convincing buildings. So that will be a lot more to do with probably values and that three-dimensional quality of your painting, again using water mixable oils. So Sarah, what I bet you're looking forward to that. What's your book as well, because it's all designed to complement your book as well.
Yeah.
What are you? I can see you're tinkering a little bit.
No, I'm not tinkering, I'm painting. I'll stop. The book is a beginner's guide to water mixable oils. So it's for the complete beginner. So it's an introduction to, you know, everything from how to mix them, how to clean your brushes, to anything else really. And it's got about 6 or 7 step-by-step projects in it.
Right.
And by doing those projects, which end up with, you know, quite nice paintings, you should gain a load of confidence in you know, using these paints. And the nice thing is you don't have to do it all at once. You know, you can do a painting, leave it, put it somewhere where the cat can't sit on it, and come back to it. So they're really user friendly, very, very easy to enjoy using, and to use at home or wherever you do your painting. And it's just supposed to be sort of breaking down the fear factor, I suppose.
Yeah.
So a lot of people find them quite intimidating or don't really understand how to use them.
Exactly. So today's been a really great sort of taster for us, and we'll go back for the second half where we'll start making this painting pop in a minute. But if you want to join us for this art series, you can pay for a separate class, each one, or if you buy all 4, the entire series, you get a 25% discount. So it's nice and simple. And how do you do that, you might want to ask? Well, you visit our website, shopkeeparty.com, and you click on the events page at the top. And what I'll do is I'll just share my screen now and show you how to do it. Click on the events section there, and depending on when you visit it, if you then scroll down, and you'll see it's all in date order, and as we come down to May, you'll see Sarah's individual classes there. If you click on any of them, they'll take you through to the series highlight, and it talks about what we're going to be doing, and explains about all the different classes step by step, so that you can get some of the reference photos that you'll be sent the day before the class, along with the webinar link. The price includes the full video access, so you get the video included in every class. Click on there, and on Sarah's shop you can buy a single class by clicking on it and purchasing it, or if you go back, you can purchase all of them, all 4, for 25% off, as I said before, and just highlighting there that it includes the video. If you do purchase the video, if you head over back to our website and click the videos section, so this is where we highlight all the videos from all the different artists. We've got over 500-600 hours of video tutorials. You can select by artist, select Sarah, and then once you find her, you can have a look at the class info again, and then you just click the watch button, and you can watch it as many times as you want. So hopefully that helps. Right, Sarah, let's go back to you for the second half, and looking forward to pulling this together.
Yeah, I've mixed up a slightly lighter grey, same way as I did before. I've used a bit of ultramarine, a bit of burnt sienna, and some white, and I've made this, and I'm just putting a little bit more detail into the sky. If I like leaving brush marks, that's one of the things I really like. So in order to get paint off the brush and onto the canvas, I tend to just twizzle it. Like, can you see how it's rolling?
Yes.
Yeah. Because you are in control, but also not completely. And I'm gonna, because this cloud here is this color, I'm gonna take this would go there. It would be behind the tree. So I'm just gonna put that bit in there and that bit in there, so that it's the right color. Does that make sense? And now I'm also going to just soften this bit here. This is an acrylic brush. So let me just show you the bristles. They're quite soft. And I'm going to use this to just pull the paint and sort of mix it on the palette. Can you see how soft this edge is now?
Yeah.
So that's quite a nice technique to use in all sorts of areas of your painting. So you can have the hard edge like up there, but then you can also pull it down a bit and just soften it off. So I thought I'd show you that. Pop that in there. Let's get a little bit more.
Now, we've had a couple of questions from Alison Welch Thornton. And first of all, she said, this is fascinating. I've never tried these paints before. And her first question was, do these oils still take as long to dry as ordinary oils?
Yes, they do. You can speed them up if you've got a family who are aware of your painting habits by putting them in the airing cupboard. I've got I've got a special shelf in the airing cupboard for drying them in the winter, because the weather will affect how long they take to dry. So in the summertime, this painting with this sort of thickness of paint would probably be 2 days before it was sort of touch dry. To be fully dry, you need to leave it, a good couple of weeks. But in the winter, it can take an awful lot longer, and some colours dry slower than others. So white is quite a slow dryer, and also it depends on the thickness of the paint that you're
Yes.
putting on there. I'm
Yeah.
just popping those in
She's
there.
got another excellent question as well. She says, if you haven't got the right color in water mixable oils, could you use ordinary oil paint in some areas of the same picture, or would that not work?
No, it does work. You can, but you have to remember that you've done it, because when you come to wash your brushes, you'll have to use turpentine, because the ordinary oil will be on the brush. The brush will be contaminated with ordinary oil paint.
Yes.
So you just have to remember you've mixed it up and have terps or white spirit or some kind of solvent to wash your brushes. But you can certainly mix them, and you can paint over acrylics with these, just like you can paint over acrylics with ordinary oil paint. It doesn't work the other way around, because acrylics dry too fast, so you'll end up with cracking and weird things happening. But you can certainly use acrylics to paint the underpainting if you want, and then cover it with paint over with these. Yeah.
Great.
But also you practice mixing colors. You can pretty well make everything with a very basic palette of paint. I think of these colors. I mean, I'm like everyone. If I go into an art shop, I'll buy colors just because I like the name, or it's a nice color. And they're a bit like the clothes you have in your wardrobe. You've got your staple t-shirts and jeans and stuff you wear every single day, and then you've got a few party frocks. So the basic palette is your jeans and your jumpers and t-shirts, and then there's a few mad colours, like, I don't know, a lovely Bengal rose or something that you hardly ever really need, but are lovely for a little pop of colour, if you're painting a garden or something like that. Right, I've fiddled around with this sky. I'm now going to fiddle around with the greenery. So what I want to do is mix up a whole bunch of paler, lighter greens.
Alison said, I have lots of party frocks, but live in jeans.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, it's the same with paint though, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure I'm not alone in going into an art shop and being seduced by far too many things. I mean, actually, you only have to look in the background of my studio when I was showing you the pictures to see how much I've got a virtual art shop in here.
Yes.
Try and use it all, but Right, let's just mix these, a few greens up here. That'll do. That. Right. So I've got a few various green things going on here. Right, let's describe the top of this hedge here. We need to put in a bit of light there. So I've loaded the brush up. If you look here, I'm just kind of twizzling it about in that paint, a bit like if you were sticking a stick in candy floss. And then I'm going to get it onto the canvas. So the trick is not to paint too much. A lot of, look, I'll show you what you shouldn't do, shall I? You shouldn't go like this. Keep drawing away, thinking that this is like a felt pen. You know, it isn't. It's a paintbrush, and this is oil paint. So you get the paint on your brush, and then just pop it on with a couple of. You see how it will sit on top of that dark beautifully. So it's a kind of very gentle movement, but it's also it's kind of gentle but firm, I think. I just want to show the top of that hedge there is a bit paler. Oops, I think that's too pale, but anyway, we'll sort that out in a minute. Get the top of those trees. And that there. Let's get a little brush and we'll get some of that original grey onto it. I'm just going to go, you see we've got just board here, I'm going to stick in there. This is the worst brush in the world. It's really scabby and horrible, but it's going to work for this, so we'll forgive it. There we go. Oops. Blob in there. So I'm kind of trying to pull out the trunks by painting what's behind them, painting the negative space, the sky. See, this is looking like I really meant it to be like that, doesn't it? That's the whole point. Let's stick a bit of light in there, so there's a trunk there. There. Do you see what a difference those little dots are making?
Yes.
Right, I'm just going to go into this big tree now and get some definition on these before we do any more sky holes. Now here's where the Van Gogh-y bits come in. Little. I don't want to try and paint every single leaf. I just want an impression of movement. So I'm just going to wiggle the brush, wiggle the paint off the brush. Let's just do that. If you look at a lot of his, the shapes that he uses for leaves or grass, all sorts, are way bigger than they would be. They're not to scale, but they give you that sense of movement. You see? And then we'll do the same here. We'll do these. This is a bit that's catching the light. So it's a really light touch. I'm literally, you know, just sort of just about touching the board with the paint, hardly with the brush. And these leaves are just sitting here on the edge of the hedge here. Right, we've got some grasses. I'm going to get the edge of one of these cards and bend it, see, like that, just so it's not straight, and then dibble it in this. Okay, so it's kind of loaded up, and then I'm just going to pop these in. A bit more dibbling. And we use the palette knife just to scratch through. So we've got, can you see the texture coming on there? Thank you. Someone's just bought me a cup of tea. Very useful.
Gold star.
I know. So starting to make different textures, and I'm just going to put some seed heads in. I'll come back to this because I want to do a bit more, but I just think I need to just run down the side of here. Need to get that sort of broken up, really, this bit too. And now I'm going to start working on this cornfield, because at the moment it's just this blank blob of yellow, which I don't want it to be. So I'll get a different brush, a new brush. Let's try a flat one, flattish. Right, and I need a yellow ochre with some burnt sienna in. Because there's kind of lines in this field, so they start off. And you see how the brush is doing an awful lot of the work for me. It's a little. Obviously, as you go towards the distance, they're a bit smaller. So I'm just going to, using the brush end on, because it's a flattish brush. It's a bit rubbish, but it's a flat brush, so I can use the end of it like that and paint horizontally, not horizontally, vertically. What am I talking about? I'm going to start getting do a bit more yellow in there. Getting the texture into this cornfield. Trying to push the brush into the paint so it loads it up. Just pop it on here. We'll start with the vertical ones. We'll do some horizontal ones in a minute across the top. Just lessening the pressure on the brush as we go towards the distance, so that you get slightly smaller marks, more like dots. I'm going to get some more of that burnt sienna. Mix that up for right here in the foreground. I just want an area of darker. Now I'm going to add a little bit of blue to that, because I don't want it to be so. It's really orangey. I'm going to put some different colours in. And I think here, where the wind has caught it, I'm just going to do some marks into there. Right, let's try now scratching through with the end of this. So you just want to let's put some let's get a little brush, mainly white, and turn it slightly yellowy. Twirl it in here in the paint, again a bit like a candy floss stick in candy floss, because I want to do the tops. Just lay it across. I'm trying to get the feeling and the texture of a cornfield. The way it sort of stands up at the edge, and then you've got the sort of top. Can't think of a better way to describe it. If you look at the Van Gogh painting, The Wheatfield with Crows, it's covered in these little horizontal marks. So he goes up and down at the edge of the field, and then lots of these little, which is the top of the bar. It's barley, actually, this field, I think. Seem to remember. This is right by my house, so it's I walk through here a lot. I'm going to get that. That just needs a little bit there.
Now, just as a bit of a time check, you've got a few minutes left.
Great. Well, a few minutes left. Right, I'm actually going to dot in a couple more sky holes in the tree. Let's get that grey. Put them up here. So loads of paint on a little brush. I'm just going to suggest there's a trunk there with some branches going across. A few of these. Now, I could carry on quite a lot of time here, just popping in little areas of detail. See, like that. Sort of titivating it up a little bit, but you have to be careful not to do too much. I think it's nearly done, but the nice thing with these is I could stick it on the shelf and come back in a couple of days with fresh eyes and just do a little bit more to finish it up. Okay.
Yeah, that's the great thing with oils, isn't it? You can...
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So how are we doing time-wise, John?
No, I think this is a great place to draw it to a close. It's
Lovely.
Fantastic class. Thank you so much. And how did you get on at home? I don't know whether you were painting along, but if you were, it'd be lovely to see how you got on. If you're one of our patrons and haven't joined our WhatsApp group yet, why not? You don't know what you're missing. Get on there and you can share the art that you do. And there's lots of comments flying around. It's a really nice community. If not, if you're not a patron, you can share on our Facebook post relating to this class. Also, if you're on YouTube and you've enjoyed what you've seen today, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And remember to click the notifications bell when you subscribe, as it notifies you when we launch a new video with a new artist as well. Right, I'm going to go back to Sarah, who is still applying some... Can't resist. You're going to be working on this for
about.
Yes, I know. It's a lovely art studio, I can tell in the background as well. Have you got a nice view out of your window?
No. No, I've got the back of my mobile studio, my camper van.
Right, okay.
There's
for
no
all
distraction.
your traveling.
No distraction. Yeah.
No, well, it's been really lovely. And Alison said, thank you. That was really inspiring.
Good.
And Victoria said, fascinating and completely different from watercolor. Thank you very much. And that's the thing with doing something like this. It is different from watercolor. It's and watercolor can be quite challenging sometimes. You can't go back and correct things quite so easily as you can.
I should have scraped out a load more and shown you how easy it is to actually get back right.
Well, I think that's one of the things we could cover within the art series.
We definitely will. We definitely will. Yeah.
And Alison Conway said, wonderful demo. We'll give these a try. Just what I'm looking for. One question: can you use cold wax with this?
Do you know what? I don't know. I'm sure you probably could, but I've never worked with cold wax, so I don't know for sure. I could find out. I'll find out and tell you next time.
Yeah. Let us know. We'll let Alison know. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time out today to run this class. It's been really lovely, Sarah. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us. It's been a fascinating class. But until next time, obviously, it's goodbye from me. But obviously, thank you so much for your time today to Sarah. Thanks,
Bye.
Sarah.
Bye.
You get a big round of applause, Sarah. Take care.